There wasn't really much of anything to celebrate yesterday. A few good commercials that we played for you throughout the morning here on KCMO, but even those largely disappointed. Not as much as the Chiefs disappointed, but they largely disappointed. There was also a rumor on social media that Elon Musk was going to drop $40 million in ads to share what Doge had uncovered so far in wasteful spending. And I had some people send that to me. I was skeptical of it because these ads get booked like weeks and months in advance. There's not a lot of room in the commercial inventory to make an ad in the last week and then dump it into the Super Bowl. I mean, these things are getting sold for months and months and months on end. So I had a lot of people DMing me saying, you see, Elon's doing 5 commercials, $8 million a pop, because that was the going rate, $8 million for a 30-second ad. And he's going to share everything uncovered at Doge. And I was like, that would be great. But if you're familiar a little bit with how media works, was he going to turn around a 30-second ad, 5 of them, in a few days and find 5 empty slots in Super Bowl inventory? That didn't add up. It obviously turned out not to be true, but it was getting a lot of attention over the weekend. But the good news is what came out of the political scene over the weekend, since nothing good came out of the football scene, at least for those of us here in Kansas City. And that was the CBS News poll that showed Donald Trump with his highest ever approval ratings during his time in office, going back to his first term. And there was some amazing data that came out of this, but what I continue to be shocked by, not shocked like I can't believe it's true, but just having lived through the Obama years and Trump's first term and then Joe Biden, like all of us have, coming to the conclusion that the American people, especially younger Americans, have woken up. You look at the age breakdown, and right now the age breakdown is this. Trump's at 53% approval, 47% disapproval, highest approval ever for him in CBS polling history. With 18 to 29-year-olds, he's plus 10. With 30 to 44-year-olds, he's plus 4. With 45 to 64, he is plus 12. And with 65 plus, he's 50-50. So the group, the generation that of all the age groups has been least impacted by Joe Biden's policies, they're the ones who are actually most down on Trump, but even they're 50-50. So it's the older generation. It's that, I'm just envisioning the lady who was protesting outside of Chicken and Pickle last Thursday when Fox and Friends was here and we were broadcasting live. And she was probably a 69-year-old Subaru driver from Northeast Johnson County who was yelling into her microphone about mediocre white guys and Trump's a dictator and we need democracy. Yeah, because nobody screamed democracy like the president who we just dealt with the last 4 years, who nobody had any idea where he was half the time, what he was doing, and who exactly was in charge. And then the lady that's screaming democracy on behalf of the party with a D next to its name literally did not hold any kind of a primary after Joe Biden blew himself up because everybody realized that he was basically brain dead. Now you're screaming about Donald Trump being a dictator and being the party of democracy. I mean, keep doing it because no one's buying it, but I would be fine if you continue to do it because it's not going to work out well for you. It's not. And younger people in particular waking up. Now, what else do we see on the breakdown here? Democrats continuing to just get destroyed in men. Right now, the male approval for Donald Trump is plus 20. It's 60-40. And the women numbers aren't all that bad. He's minus 6 with women, 47-53. That's not terrible. Trump has also made gains with whites with a 4-year degree. That was always a struggle point for him, right? He's right now minus 2 in this poll with whites with a 4-year degree. The OWWs, as I call them, the overeducated woke whites, he's only minus 2 in that category. Whites with no degree, he's plus 36. White voters in general, he's plus 22, 61-39. Hispanics, he's only -2, 49-51, basically dead even with Hispanics. And Democrats had banked on the Hispanic vote for decades now. Trump's got him 50-50. And black voters, he's -34, 33-67. But that's not bad. Like, Republicans have traditionally gotten anywhere from 12 to maybe 14% of the black vote. Trump's got a 33% approval with black voters right now. You might look at it and say -34, that's awful. No, that's actually historically good, is what it is. So you look at these numbers and you say, okay, we're 3 weeks into Donald Trump being the president of the United States, right? The inauguration and our party at Ray's Cafe was 3 weeks ago today. And he's largely doing exactly what he promised, and that is part of something that, is a broader conversation that needs to be had. He's doing what he promised. And what are the words that people are using to describe him? Here are the top 4 words and the top 4 answers in the CBS News poll that those polled used to describe Donald Trump. 69% tough, 63% energetic, 60% focused, and 58% effective. One of the other questions, Trump in the campaign promises. Is he doing what he promised or different from what he promised? 70% of those polled say Donald Trump is doing exactly what he promised in the campaign. 30% are saying different from what he promised. These are tremendous numbers from a polling outfit that is not looking to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. So he shows up last night at the Super Bowl. I mean, the guy got a hero's welcome when they showed him during the national anthem. And if you missed it, this is what it sounded like.
Through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch.
That was not a casual golf clap. That was, oh, look, there's the president. Let's applaud because, well, it's a sitting president, and that's what we do as Americans. That was a raucous applause. It was one of the few big applauses that anybody got all night, is what it was. Woo! That's right. I could tell there were some Ric Flairs in the audience. Let's go, there's Donnie. Woo! If you're a Chiefs fan and you were at the game, that might have been the loudest cheer you had all night. There wasn't much else to cheer. Heck, they didn't cross the 50-yard line until 2 minutes left in the third quarter, for crying out loud. What are you going to cheer for? So we are in a completely different world. When Trump entered office 8 years ago, he was underwater out of the gates. Democrats were shocked, couldn't stand him. Republicans thought it was a flash in the pan and a mistake. And they said, this guy's not serious. He's not someone who's going to be able to really do a whole lot. And we don't like him. And also, he had a bit of a clunky rollout because he didn't understand Washington, D.C., and that's not his fault. He wasn't a creature of Washington, D.C. He wasn't a creature of the swamp. He has come in. He has been effective. He has remained above water in popularity a few weeks in, despite the fact that you have media trying to do everything it can to take him down. They have learned nothing from the last few years. And I also can't imagine that those on the other side of the aisle are struggling so much with their own popularity when you've got Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters doing these lame rallies and lame chants and just looking like total dweebs like they did last week.
And we cannot allow Elon Musk and a small group of people to secretly, behind closed doors, take away our privacy, take away our dollars, take away everything we have. We are going to fight this fight. I am going to stand with you in this fight, and we will win. 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 We won't rest.
We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest. I can't believe Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters can't win back young voters in the Democratic Party doing stuff like that. I mean, that just screams cool, doesn't it? And I'll leave you with this little tidbit from this CBS News poll that came out over the weekend. Because what's one of the big issues that Donald Trump's political opponents had tried to get him on. Well, it's his deportations. Well, that policy is actually even more popular than Donald Trump himself. Do you approve or disapprove of the Trump administration's program to find and deport immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally? Plus 18. Approve 59, disapprove 41. Every single age group approves of this. 18 to 29, plus 12, 56-44. 30 to 44-year-olds, plus 10, 55-45. 45 to 64-year-olds, plus 26, 63-37. And even the boomers who don't like him, apparently, are good with this policy, plus 24, 62 to 38. Whites approve, plus 32. And with blacks and Hispanics, it's basically 50-50, 49 to 51 with each of those races. Males, plus 32. Females, plus 6. Plus 6 for females on this front. Legacy media does not represent you. It does not represent common sense. And it does not represent American values. Remember that when you watch it. People are done being brainwashed. And when CBS is dropping polls like this, you know it's game, set, match. We'll get to our caller of the day at the bottom of the hour on KCMO Talk Radio, 913-408-7957. We are here for you, reacting and embracing, and a lot cheaper than going to a therapist today after the Chiefs get blown out in Super Bowl 59 on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, and streaming, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We're here for you this morning at 913-408-7957. Mayor of Kansas City got ticked off at me yesterday during the game, so I will share that story with you coming up here in a couple of minutes. Mike is in Olathe. What's up, Mike? You're on KCMO.
Hey, dude, I'm glad you shared the clip of them chanting that thing because...
You talking about old Maxine and Chuck Schumer there last week?
Yeah, and I saw it. Now you played it again, and I literally got this. I got an eerie chill in my body because I teach a book, Animal Farm, in high school, and we watched the movie as well. And eventually, the pigs become like the humans, but in this case, I think these humans are becoming more like the pigs, and they're chanting, and it's bizarre, man, and it's almost eerily similar and sick to listen to that because. They kind of lost their minds in a sense, and it's almost animalistic because they've been able to chant all these lies about gender and all this other crap that's been going on that's now being uncovered, and they're still trying to do it, but the noise is almost turning people to an eerie yuck feeling as opposed to before where we just said, man, we got to try to overcome this. It gives you an eerie, weird sort of, I don't know, it blends together, and it's sickening.
It is. And I'll tell you what, I mean, if they think that just opposing everything Trump is doing is going to help them win back some power, it's not going to, Mike. It's just not.
No, it's not, sir. No, it's not. And we can't count our blessings enough. We just got to pray for Trump to stay healthy and stay the course.
Yeah, so far so good. 3 weeks in, you got to love it. But they don't realize that their friends in media have lost power. Alternative media and different media has obviously exploded over the last decade. They cannot just use their lackeys in the press to push whatever agenda they want to push. And the other major problem that they're facing right now is that the stuff Trump is doing is actually more popular than him. Now, he's more popular than he's ever been, but the stuff he's doing is more popular. And if you want to be the party that defends $20 million going to Iraq for Sesame Street, I don't think that's going to work out well for you. I don't have to be, and you don't have to be, some political consulting genius to come to the conclusion that defending every dollar spent by USAID is like the way forward for your party. I was on Kansas City Week in Review this past weekend on PBS, and this topic came up, the federal workers' buyouts, and the common theme, I know you'll be shocked by this, amongst my panelists was, well, it'll just take one person to die from food poisoning or, one person to just, God forbid something bad happens to them because we didn't have enough federal workers, and there's going to be a lot of people questioning it. Okay. If your attitude is, oh, my gosh, we're cutting the fat out of the federal workforce, we're all going to die, I promise you, you're out of touch. I promise you. That is not where most American people are at. In fact, what I think is going to happen here, and I believe this is the biggest fear for many that like to see a government just get bigger and stronger and more unaccountable to the people, is that the Trump administration cuts a ton from the budget and cuts a ton of fat and a ton of workers, and people notice absolutely zero change in their everyday life. That's their biggest fear. That's why they're doing fear-mongering right now, like you can't possibly cut $1, and if you do, the world's going to end. No, it isn't, and they know it. But their game for far too long has been what? Their game has been all about trying to build up a federal workforce and grow a government to increase the power of the bureaucracies and decrease the power of the American public and the voter, and basically buy their own voter block through the federal budget. And God willing, those days are going to come to an end. Now, yesterday during the game, there was a great moment. The moment was actually before the game when President Trump walked out onto the field and the teams are warming up. And Chris Jones is kind of lingering. Here's one of the biggest stars in the Super Bowl lingering behind Donald Trump. He's in the corner of the end zone, and all the players are kind of stretching, warming up the whole thing. And Chris Jones is there, and he tries to get Trump's attention. And Trump doesn't see him. Trump's got a million things going on. It wasn't clearly on purpose. He just didn't see Chris Jones out of the corner of his eye, even though Chris Jones is like 6'6", 300 pounds. So Chris Jones must get Trump's attention when Trump turns his back to him, and they turn around and they end up shaking hands. And it's a great photo. If you haven't seen it, I posted it last night on X at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. But this is not Trump walking up to Chris Jones. Trump didn't even see Chris Jones. Chris Jones wanted to get Donald Trump's attention and shake his hand. So I shared the video on X, and I just noted Chris Jones went out of his way to shake President Trump's hand. I said between this and Jones crying during the anthem, which he does on occasion, woke Kansas City's not happy. Well, Mayor Lucas was not happy with that post. And the mayor of Kansas City responded and shared my post, and he wrote, "We don't give a damn, man. We want our team to get a first down." Now, I had to write something back tongue-in-cheek. Was sitting there at my Super Bowl party wanting to rip my eyeballs out because of the game. So I saw that the mayor was down there with Jasmine Crockett, the total wacko who's been on CNN and MSNBC the last couple of weeks, who, trust me, if the party listens to Jasmine Crockett, which is like worse than listening to AOC, they are in for a rude few election cycles in a row. Everyone's a racist. Everything is racist. I mean, she's 5 years too late on that song and dance, but either way, that's her mantra. And the mayor posted a picture of himself hanging out with her down in New Orleans over the weekend. So I just wrote back, I hope that Jasmine Crockett didn't rub off on you too much down there. Some of us appreciate this and ... would also like a first down. It seemed like the quintessential example of two things being true at once. It wasn't Chris Jones' fault the team lost last night. I promise you that. Nothing to do with Chris Jones. We would like a first down at some point, but Chris Jones going out of his way to shake Donald Trump's hand when every camera in the world is pointed on that man at that point in time is a total cultural change from where things were just a few years ago.